Okay.
All righty. And we are live. Hello, everybody that will be
Hi.
joining us and we'll be watching on playback. Hello, Dina. Thank you for being here. And everybody, first time on my channel, please welcome my very special guest, Jeff Bailey, known as Tarot Ask Backwards. And I have been meaning to ask you, Jeff, what made you or how did you come up with that name for your channel? I mean, it's clever as hell. I love it.
Well, good evening, everyone. Firstly, but
Yes.
secondly, that the name itself arose from the desire to be somewhat
Hi, Marby.
kitschy or cutesy or gimmicky. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I had initially gone with Poetic Justice Jeff Bailey, but there's already someone
Mm-hmm.
by that name using it, and there are multiple people. So I'm glad
Oh.
that I backed away from it because it was only after the fact I discovered it. But given that I do write and I wanted to incorporate the facets of writing with the tarot, and sometimes the messages that we can get by looking at tarot cards we throw out can elicit the actual question that we're
Mm-hmm.
looking for, about which the answer in front of us may not be clear because they could just be random throws, especially if you're learning tarot for the first time. You might ask yourself, all right, give me some time to meditate on these cards, and what's the greater question they're answering instead of what are they trying to tell me? What are they, what's the overall energy behind these cards that made me
Mm-hmm.
pull them out? And that's the question you have. So it's ask backwards, right? And
Gotcha.
then with words, that it just incorporates the poetic side of it.
Hi, Nancy. So we have a few
Hi,
people popping
Nancy.
in. We have Marby, we have Amanda Carroll, and we have Nancy. So people will slowly be coming in. Thank you for joining us. So I guess what I can ask, I'll let you continue having the floor. You're my guest. So what got you actually into writing poetry?
I
And do
was
you write anything else besides like prose, short fiction, novel maybe in the works?
well, the two books I have are poems, but I don't.
Oh,
I'm not
nice.
a writer in the sense of writing like prose or actual stories. Um,
Okay.
I get the information as downloads, and I could hear a word, and a lot of times the word
Mm-hmm.
Heather could have a lot of different connotations, like or a
Oh.
phrase. Like I wrote something called Quick Fix that I think might have been on the channel recently. And I was thinking of my addiction to Clonopin. But then when I realized it turned into something else about being on YouTube and finding solace through all these different channels and all these mediums and all these
Mm-hmm.
people, and trying to get a quick answer about my dad in heaven or whatever. So, and then I would incorporate the bridges between the feelings you get when you get a quick fix from a drug to what you get from excitement in the moment in a reading. And then that's my method, so to speak. But
Mm-hmm.
I, and the original question was no, I do not write anything other than poetry.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, some people don't feel they feel stifled with having to do things like novelettes, but
Oh yeah, and that's the thing is
and with poetry, yeah.
I
Yeah.
can do them on the spot. It's not hard. Like you can throw something at me and I can throw it back at you. It might not be the best thing I like, but then when I go back and look at it, I'm like, there's something to that, and it's why cards are so helpful in doing that because
Mm-hmm.
it's just an amazing. It's two forms of divination because you're getting a download, but you're also, is say you have the cards in front of you at the same time, then you've got a story. Coming back to what you said, and that story can be framed
Mm-hmm.
however you want to frame it. I just choose to
Yeah.
frame it in verse. That's all.
That's amazing. It's that beautiful. And I think a lot of us who are like tarot readers, oracle readers, or that, you know, that we work in the divination, and even in, I think I'm just going to broaden it. I try. It's like you don't want to box something. You know, you have to like think outside of that box. You don't want to, you know, you have labels, but at the same time, you don't want to put so many things into a box. And I think for people like a lot of us in this community who are tapped in or have a strong interest in the metaphysics, because we're drawn to our intuition, or we have a natural understanding or use of our intuition that allows us to use the creative side of ourselves, our creative beings, to be able to tap into that, no matter how different ways you want to
Mm-hmm.
express it. Because for me, it's always been art, it's been music, it's been my poetry. And then for me, tarot was like another language, but I didn't keep with it for many years or exploring it, because when I started learning about it, it was a very rigid, this is how you have to read, there's no other way. And so it was like, but I'm seeing other things, or I'm understanding different. So finally, out, you know, 2020, 21, where YouTube exploded with, you know, tarot channels, I started to finally have that circle open up. And then I think within the last few months, finding out you were a writer, I just found out recently Annie Bear was a writer. There are other artists, oil painter who does tarot. So it's just incredible. And it just, for me, just shows that those people who have a strong connection to their intuition, especially in metaphysics, have that natural ability to channel that creative muse and understanding through however they see art, you
And
know,
it's
artistically.
it's fascinating to me that you do use the term language to describe tarot, because it is a language, but unlike the universality of language that as we understand it, yeah, there are stringent meanings behind cards, but the
Mhm,
abstractions of what you get in the synthesis between cards is what
mhm,
makes it so fascinating. And some of it is symbolism, some of it is
mhm,
archetypal, some of it is rooted in your own biases, your own neuroses, your own psychoses, your own understanding of the world.
mhm,
So, to me, the actual merging of that with poetry, when a message is rendered once, it can mean, it's almost like if you ever took linear algebra, there could be six equations and five variables or whatever, but there's one point at which there are five variables for five equations, and there's, you know, a solution in five different dimensions. Well, we're talking about going into a new dimension now.
mhm,
um, but I think instead of thinking of that one particular point, we think of that one particular point in meditation where the time between space and time is gone, and all we have is just the sensation of warmth. And I think when poetry
mhm,
resonates at its best, that is occurring, because even if something as mundane as taking out the trash, you write about it in such a way where it could hit
mhm.
anybody differently, just the way tarot cards and their meaning could hit anyone differently.
Yep.
And you've struck gold. And if you find the merging between, you've merged two different art forms, you've merged poetry and you've merged tarot. If you're striking a resemblance or balance between the meaning of one and then the meaning you derive
Mhm.
from the other. And then it has even more of a cogent sort of feeling to it. So that's why I really think that on YouTube it has such a therapeutic, and just your name alone, you know, that's why I'm drawn to you as a reader, because I see you doing art therapy to me. Like that's what
I've done it in the past. I've done in the, I mean,
I
I
could
don't
be
have a
wrong,
degree,
but I
but
don't
I've
know. Yeah,
helped people with art. That's what I
right.
would enjoy doing. Yeah.
Like,
I would like to again.
and that's how it is to me. It's eliminating the timelines and seeing the oneness, just as I pointed out before the show, like a mosaic where the
Well, then,
words
yeah.
the words
Mhm,
just hit based on the feeling at the moment. But at the moment, down, if we're going to use the imposition of time, they could mean so much more then, because you have a different understanding of it, based on your own experience. So all the words and everything and the language and the tarot, it's timeless. That's why why tarot's lasted so long, you know? So
So what got you into writing poetry, and how long have you been writing, Jeff?
I was in college when I first wrote something, and the neighbor, I went to Assumption College in Worcester, Massachusetts. Then,
Oh, okay, yeah, Worcester.
yep.
Yep, I lived in Rowley for a while.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I know Massachusetts. Yes,
I do love Massachusetts. I'll probably someday I'll have to leave it, but I mean, I don't.
So you're still in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm
Very cool.
in Cohasset right now.
Okay.
So toward the coast, but I had written something called I Think I Am. And it was just an existential sort of thing where it was very minimalist in its delivery of, just sort of existential questions. And I went probably about 7 years from that point. In 2001, I started writing again, and it was not very good. It was almost like bad slam poetry, where it was, my cat went out today in the shade and didn't make its way. Somehow the earth shook.
Practice.
So someday somehow the earth shook and it became a stray. You know what I'm saying? So over the course of 10 or so years, I felt like I was honing my skill up till about 2010. And then something shifted where I would just lie in bed at night and all of a sudden words would just pop out. And they made sense.
Anywhere at night,
they made sense, and I could sit in a foundation where I did that. I really did that. Like I did that. So that was how I got into that. And then the tarot bit of it, I was working in 2015 through 2018 for a fundraising company called Integral Resources that raises money for the DNC, the DSCC, all the different wings of the Democratic Party. And I was getting tired of having to read articles for Politico daily to try to keep up with what, because the people on the outside from whom you're soliciting donations, they know their SHIT, they know it better. So instead of relying on the scripts on the screen,
it's late enough if you want to drop
the shit. Yeah. Instead of relying on the scripts on the screen, I would rather be well versed enough to and I cared. I was interested in it. Okay. I was reading everything on Politico, but by like 9 o'clock at night, I was burned out from even just 6 hours of fundraising.
Yeah. I don't do any politics or nothing.
No,
it just sucks the life out of me. It just sucks my soul dry. And I mean, I give people in our community who do the politics kudos, because to keep tapping in that energy day in and day out or what, no, I can't do that.
And you have to be.
I need the other balance.
See, to me, I don't know how people like Allison tap. We were talking about it last night when I was here. How they keep up with it, how they tap into it without knowing anything about it.
Reader.
And I almost think that might be better, because if you bring in the linear foundation of what you know politically, then maybe the only exception to that I've seen is Nancy Jean from Nancy Jean's Garden, who really reads the tarot as if it were an art form. But what a lot of the time I'm doing is I'm interpolating based on what I know about a situation, you know what I mean? And then throwing that into the cards rather than having the cards speak to me based on what's going on politically. I feel Allison does that really well. And I think Nancy Jean's Garden does too, but she has both skill sets. It was only recently that with Allie, I had done personal reads. I didn't think I thought that would drain me. It didn't. It didn't. I didn't think. And actually thinking about it, I can see where people now would think political reads are more draining.
Yeah, they are. And that's why I had to stop. I really did. And it was getting difficult for me because I could see things going on the other side, that were doing things just as bad, or kept being hidden, that, the bad side was doing. And it's just like, I don't want to tap into that
Mhm.
energy. But I do like doing my investigative tarot into cold cases and things. So people ask me, well, that's hard. That's, heavy energy.
And that's
What
draining, I would think.
what's the difference? But for me, I can put an energy around that, and I know that I'm, giving possibly a victim a voice. A family member could maybe come across, and find out, maybe get it for me. It's like, it's more of that balance of, for me, that type of energy, and being able to sustain, those readings. I don't do them a lot, but certain ones will call to me that I will do. And for me, that is more of a, how do I say this? For me, it's more, it feels like I'm doing something good. It feels like it has purpose for me. Whereas putting my, tapping into these these idiots, trying, running the country and the world. It's like, I don't want to give them that. They already take enough of other people's energies and stuff that they're doing. Let me tap in just for a little bit into this energy and be able to do some good and help that way. So for me, it's just how I balance, and that's why I make sure that, that I don't do just the investigative, but I do, the spiritual. And I love bringing more in, like, right with you, talking about poetry, and with tarot, and sharing, our poetry. And just really quick, we had some people come in. We had Book Bewitched come in. Hello. Cat Mama Meows do drop in. Claudia, she has joined
Hi,
us.
Cat Mama.
Amanda is here. I did say hello to Marby. There's Dina. Twisted Sushi came in. That is Amanda. Hello, my
Hi,
dear.
Amanda.
Lisa Niedermeyer is here. But that's how you pronounce her name. It's Lisa. And did
I've
I
always
miss?
wanted to know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, her name is Lisa. Yeah, she spelled it once phonetically in one of Gerald's chats, I think. So
Okay.
thank you everybody for being here. And how I got into, um I mean, as a kid, I was bullied. So for me, my refuge was being in nature, painting sticks, or coloring in a coloring book, or especially writing. I was a big Star Wars fan as a kid, and I would write like little Star Wars stories, and I love to listen to music. I listened to music all the time. It was what kept me company. And so I would get into music, and I'd be like, oh, I want to write a lyric, so I would try lyric writing. So I think I started writing as far back as I can remember, as I think 10 or 11. So that was always who I was before I got into art. And it was in actually high school, was it, no, junior year in high school, that our English teacher, said that a poet had come to, our high school. I went to Lafayette High School in Buffalo, and he said, there's an artist here, a poet here, who would like to do a workshop, for about a week or so. Would any of you be interested? And me and another classmate, his name was John, who I ended up falling in love with that year. Not long after, he's like, oh my God, here's a guy who writes this beautiful poetry, just a really beautiful soul. And so I was like, I want to go. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll go. So we met her, and what she had us do, and she pulled out a deck of cards, and she goes, and I remember her asking, have we ever heard of tarot cards? And I don't know if I did or not, because I was raised Catholic, but my mom still had, if still mentioned psychic abilities and things and stuff. So I wasn't quite sure, and I was like, yeah, I think I have. And she had the Thoth deck, the Thoth, however you want to pronounce it. And
That's
I
very
had
steeped in the Catholic tradition in a lot of ways.
Yes. And so she said, well, she goes, what I would love to do as a warm up, like a lesson, is She goes, go through the deck and pick a card that really resonates with you and then write a poem about it. And so I can't remember what John picked, but I automatically, and I kind of look back and go, well, no kidding, but I pulled out the High Priestess. And for me, the High Priestess felt very, because up to that point, and some people may laugh or not, but for me, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, was a very strong role for women growing up. There weren't many women, strong women roles. And for me, I always looked up to her character being strong and fierce and independent, beautiful and everything. And when I saw this High Priestess card, I automatically thought of her. And I don't remember what I wrote, but I did call it Organa, was the poem. And that was my first real foray into writing poetry. I mean, was through and using the tarot. And I had actually, like we were talking, Jeff and I were talking backstage. I was tossing the idea around with Terry Renner that there are so many of us now that I'm finding are readers. Myself, Jeff, Annie Bear is a reader. And so Terry and I thought, well, it'd be so cool to have like a poetry slam or a poetry panel and of us all come together. And I shared her the story. I said, because we're all readers, maybe we can each grab one of our favorite cards, one or two of them, and write a poem and talk about why we chose that tarot card. What does that tarot card represent to us? What did we channel through our writing with it and present that as a show some night? And
I'd
I
be
thought,
game to do that. I would love to do that.
fabulous idea.
You
So
know,
I
I'd
was
love to
able
do
to
that.
bring that. And so it's like, I can't remember her name, but whoever this poet was in Buffalo, oh, thank you. Because all these years later, over 30 years, yeah, close to 30 years, well, over 30 years now, because this was like 88 when this happened, 88, 89. So, yeah. And yeah, or pick a random card. Yeah, Amanda, and see what's what. So, let's see, but you can only imagine how those would be. Okay, I started writing songs when I was about 10. Me too.
Yeah.
I really that's how I was. And
And the earlier you do it, I think it probably helps your craft more, no matter what you're doing. Because I
and
think, those inhibitions that could come out really might be therapeutic, but they also could be showing you the nuance of what your talent is and how to channel it better. Especially in when you have the world, when they say you have the world at your feet, when you're young, you're not as maybe suppressed by what's going on in the world, and that doesn't influence, and a lot of it does in mine, because there's sort of, and I won't, I know poetry's not everyone's cup of tea, and I can't ask someone, to like something that they don't, but your own impositions about how you see the world shade your art, for good or for bad. And I know they say the most rigid or the best art comes from pain. I'm trying to I'm trying to find some way to change that, because I
mm-hmm.
think there are a lot of crafty people, but they don't look at their craft in so much as how they can write more stream of conscious, which is how it probably should be. But from that comes a lot of the darker, the shadow work stuff that
Mm-hmm.
comes
It
up.
helps,
It helps, right?
but it's
But
not the end all be
there's
all.
that block where you don't move from that into something a little bit more, unless it's carnal and obscenely, referencing your first sexual experience of the first
Yeah.
boyfriend you've had. So that's what I'm trying to get away from. You know what I mean? Like, write
Mhm.
just simply and purely, but write things that are positive. And Annie Bear is really good at that, without being sing-songy or
That's
um,
what people think poetry is. It's rhyming and
right.
sing-songy, and there's so many different versions
Yeah.
of poetry writing. And I didn't know that until I was in college, because I needed to take a couple electives, and I always loved poetry. So I was able to take poetry one and two. It was taught by the same teacher. And unfortunately, I mean, it was fun, but at the same time, even in college, people were calling you a teacher's pet. I hated it. But he taught us. What he made us do was get a little tiny notebook, journal, or something. And if we come across a word that we see that we thought is cool, even if we don't write a poem, write it down. Like start collecting, phrases or thoughts that pop in, and we would keep these journal books, and then he would teach us about and have us write a poem using the form of sonnet.
Mhm.
So I can't remember some, but there were so many. Haiku. There's just so many different, learning. I was never good with really trying to keep the
The
iambic
meter or the
pentameters and stuff,
whatever.
because a lot of that kind of made me, kind of boxed me in. I liked doing, some, I could just like start writing words down the middle of a page. They might come back this way. I was kind of like all over the place. And that was okay with him when we could do our free forms. But he wanted us to understand structure of how to do others, so that when we would go and do our free form or however we write, we would subconsciously be taking in those skills from those and being able to make it our own, give it
Mhm.
our own voice to them, and would not realize sometimes after you stand back, oh, I see how this type of poem, formation affected, my poem in this way. So you would see it's just a beautiful, rich tapestry, really, of all the different, poetry
Yeah,
forms.
and content takes many forms. I'm not a believer that content has to adhere to a form. I think the
Mhm.
moment you do that, you're not an artist. The moment that you impose any type of restriction on anything, you're not an artist. Um, I understand from an aesthetic point of view about when you're studying it, why it's important. It's the same way that meter and rhyme and soliloquies and Shakespeare and all of that
Soliloquy.
stuff is taught, because there's a reason why there's like meter, and there's a reason why there's all of that. But there's also a reason why there doesn't have to be.
Mhm.
Um, but it doesn't have to be defined by a lack of stringent content rules,
Mhm.
that have to say, well, this isn't poetry because, and that's what I got tired of, because
Yeah.
I really believe that something can be emotive without it being traditionally, I guess I think things can be more fluid than we let them be. And that's the same thing with tarot.
Yeah, we make it harder for
We
ourselves
make
than it
it
needs to
harder than
be.
it for itself than it needs to be. And
Because I think,
especially,
especially nowadays, because we're worried about what people are thinking with the social media. There's so much, people's opinions getting into everything, where people shut down a lot and they don't want to express themselves creatively or in a different way because
yeah,
exactly of what you're saying.
I think, yeah. And I think that getting back to what you were saying about boxing in, I think
Hmm.
that those people that, and I really am a muscle memory type of person. If you tell me about a meaning of a card, I can assimilate it. Getting back to your thing about tarot and language, I can do that. And if I am in a situation where, especially with tarot, I can't read someone, I will, or if I'm not getting the energy of the question enough to give back the answer that I feel I need to, or that I'm lacking, I will rely on the traditional meaning of the card to a certain degree. But I see a lot of readers who will completely eschew that and just
Hmm.
go based on what they're feeling, and they get a
Yeah.
hit.
Jeff, really quick, you're very blurry.
Oh, I am.
Oh,
Okay, I don't know
yeah.
what
I don't know
happened.
if you need to get a little closer. You might want to adjust your.
All right, let's
Yeah.
see.
There we go. Now I can see you.
Now I can see. Um, what was I saying? Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
basically, it's just it's whatever. whatever your form
Mhm.
is what you're going to bring to it. And you have to be confident in what you're doing. And however
Mhm.
you do it, you have to be authentic. That's
Yes.
all.
Dina said that she was teased in school, grade school, because she liked poetry, you know.
Yeah, I
And
don't
yeah,
get
I
that.
experienced that too. And
I
Cheyenne
did
joined
too.
us. Hello,
Hi,
Cheyenne. Thank you for
Diane.
joining. And Book B was shared. I went to a funeral held in a huge, beautiful Catholic church, and every stained glass window had 2 or 3 paintings with tarot picks that they
Huh.
would use. So yeah.
That's interesting.
Um, and Shaw Medina said E. Cummings was one of her favorite poets, which brings me to, if I can go first, because I absolutely, or no, you're my guest. Who's your
I,
favorite poet
my favorite poet
and
is
poem?
Shakespeare. It's
I
Shakespeare.
guessed it.
It's Shakespeare, not because it's the general answer,
Mm-hmm.
although it could be. The and I know this sounds odd too, but the quatrains of Nostradamus are part of my favorite poetry.
Yep, very
And
interesting.
it's almost for the same reason because a couplet or something that you have in front of you could have a resonance of foreshadowing. It could have and it could be a rhyme that works on 3 or 4 different levels,
Mm-hmm.
depending upon how you read it. And I remember in college when I had taken Shakespeare and I'd taken it in high school. I took it 2 semesters in college, and some of we would have to pick a verse or whatever. And I had picked a really obscure one that I thought made a lot of sense within, I think it was As You Like It. And you could have evaluated it qualitatively as a very multifaceted, um, I guess, rhyme. But even on a college level now, getting back to what you're saying, they want to simplify everything to its core meaning and not look at it from five. I mean, you could talk about a line, Heather, for a half hour. I know that sounds absurd, but
Mm-mm.
in a college,
I was in classes in college where if it wasn't a poetry, it would be understanding what do we think this song meant. Or I took, a class on, the roots of blues music, in the deep South. And they would play the music and we would talk about the lines and what they could represent and what they did represent. So I was exposed to that in college, and that was amazing.
yeah, and
College
like
really helped me grow
people think it's
artistically,
absurd, but it's not. You know.
you know. And Cat Mama says she's a haiku fan, and I write haiku every now and then too. Sometimes it's a little confining, but I like the challenge. Sometimes there are harder things for me to write, and every now and then I'll get the ideas. I'll come across, because I still have the ones from my college classes, the original printouts, and I'll pull them out every now and then and look at and say, well, I could have written it this way, or now can look at and understand this. I could have written. So it's just amazing how our language and creativity and our understanding of words and phrases change as we get older. Different experiences will affect how we see and understand songs, lyrics, phrases. I mean,
Mhm.
for me, in my 20s, connecting with poetry, like I was mentioning to Jeff backstage, my go-to was Tori Amos. you know, Caught a light sneeze, caught a light breeze, caught a lightweight lightning seed. What the hell does that mean? I'm not sure, but it was just beautiful. And a lot of times, my stuff that I write can be very cryptic. And so I found a kindred spirit in the way that, she wrote. And for me, my first, 'cause I don't follow a lot of poets. I do like, not Rufy. Oh my goodness. Rumi, excuse me. But for me, my first real poem, and I ended up having to, in high school, we had to pick a poem that we liked. We learned had to memorize it and get up in front of class and recite it. And for me, because of growing up poor and being bullied for it and stuff, and not, having many friends, when I came across the book and the movie The Outsiders, that poem by Robert Frost, nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold, her early leaves a flower, but only so an hour.
Mm.
And leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief, so dawn goes down today, nothing gold can stay. So for me, I still get goosebumps.
And in the pauses, you get the emotion,
Hmm.
you know, and the emotion drills down more effectively
Yeah.
as you go.
Amanda says that Dorothy Parker and Ogden Nash are pretty fun. She likes them. Kristen Louise actually is now, she's a writer, apparently, Jeff. We have another writer.
That's awesome.
Kristen Louise, who created the Star Rune Oracle deck that I use. She says, I had 2 poems published last year, didn't follow any set form in them. Let's see, I know that Kristen's favorite poets, Anne Sexton, Philip Levine, and Robert Lowell. Lowell is my cousin, so I'm kind of partial. Okay. And Charlemagne, Maya Angelou. Yes.
Wow.
No, I rise. At that every time I hear her, I watch a video of her reading her poem. It just, you don't write anymore. Well, just because you don't write right now doesn't mean you can't get back into it, sweetheart. So, Book Bewitched says, I love phrases that roll over the skin that you can taste. Oh, I even love this. This is poetry to me.
That's poetry right there.
Yeah, it sure is. I collect them, and the books I devour are by authors that write in that way. Oh, I love, I may have to borrow.
Are you an artist, Books Bewitched?
I know Book Bewitched is new to me. I don't even know your name.
Okay.
So I just started seeing this individual popping in.
Are you a healer of some type? Like a Reiki
whatever you would like to share with us.
Yeah. I got to get the reason I'm lagging, I'm losing power on this. I'm not going to totally lose power, but I need to get my plug. So I will be right back.
Okay. So I'll just go over some comments here. Cheyenne Shining said, they were images on and in churches before they were tarot, particularly in Europe. For great examples of tarot imagery found on churches, see the book Reading the Marseille Tarot by J.M. David or David. Very interesting. And call me lazy, but I like freeform. I do too. One professor has put a word on paper in a hat where we pulled 15 or so and made them into a poem. Now that's a cool little I can't even think of the word. Like a prompt. That is a really cool prompt. I don't write anymore either, but a new song might give it a whirl. Yeah, so I have my panel right here. I would love to invite everybody in here that even if you haven't written in a while, this might be just something to maybe share older work that might inspire somebody in chat or who watches a video later, or it might later on, it'll stir something up and you may pick up your pen. I went quite a few, at least a year or so without really writing anything. And it was just within the last few days, I started writing again. And before the show tonight, I was going through my cards, putting them away. And I had done a live with Cheryl Marlene and Ivana yesterday. And Cheryl Marlene is the one that created the Gemstone Guardians. And the title that she has on her selenite is Anchor of Light. And I saw that and it just popped into my head. And I wrote, Anchor of Light, you connect me to my night, illuminating what I cannot see in spirit form that surrounds me. You are my third sight. And so even certain words will trigger and write and come back.
Mm-hmm.
And so you never know where that's going to take you. And I do hope that Jeff will share several of his poems with us tonight.
Yep. And I hadn't planned on anything like specifically for this show.
That's fine.
But I had written something, and I'm going blurry again. I don't know why. I had written something earlier.
And you're breaking up a lot too.
I don't know. I don't know.
Crackling up really bad. just to let you know.
All right. I'm glad you do tell me because I don't want that. And I'm not in sync either. All right. This is called My Guru. And as I said, it's inspired by what I feel about this community. I have no other fortune but yours. We're inextricably connected, so no need to tempt fate, as I want my destiny sealed by your words. Until into your orbit I gravitate, or actually in your orbit I gravitate. Lost without you, one among many gurus. But if it's only your charisma that makes me seek enlightenment, despite all the ways superficial, I think I betray myself by these rituals. Our journey to Paris on a honeymoon could be so beautiful. I don't follow you. You fell into my life. We can't deny what's in plain sight, even if in trance I relax into the light. The passion that makes us whole, we can't control. Forces in motion, the universe has spoken. I want that balance that makes you so bright and so humble, and use it to knock all of it out of you, my guru, and onto me a light revelation I can start my life anew. Imbued within me, my guru, is the stillness of a mind quelling every fear about everything. For that you are revered. If only this weren't virtual, you'd be here.
Wow. Very nice. Jeff, I just want to maybe suggest something. If you go out and come back
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Give that a try. All righty. Yeah, it's the weather. We have, internet, all different kinds of things can happen. Yeah, that really was nice, Dina. I like that. And I had one I set aside to share, but I'll wait till Jeff comes back and take this moment to thank you all for joining us tonight. I really appreciate, and I know I say a lot. It's just my way of processing thoughts to make sure that I don't forget anything. So yes, I would love to have some of you on to join us with that panel. So here's Jeff. Let's see if that helps.
See if this helps. I don't know.
Oh, it sounds good now.
Okay.
Much better. Oh, Book Bewitched said, let's hide while he's gone.
Yeah.
So for me, I was able to find one book, and this one just jumped out at me. And so this is going to be the one I want to share tonight. And this is the first time I have ever shared or read my poetry on YouTube or live. So
Yay!
this is a little scary, but it's got to be done. And after I'm done, Book Bewitched said you should read it again if you don't mind, because now that we can hear you clearly. But mine's very short.
Deal.
I wrote this January 19th, 2018, and it's called Vina Cava. Instead of venom, inject rose oil into silent veins, infusing essence into substance. Valerian-based nail polish, chamomile lip balm, eyelids painted with black wing. Flower offerings nestle together, their supple skins following your journey. Torn petals leaving trails within your Vina Cava. And that's the end of that one.
I love that. And there's there's a tactile component to it, So, all right, let me read this again.
Yes. Encore. Oops.
All right. Hold up. All right. Or not. Let's see. All
There
right.
you go.
So let's see. Okay. As I said, I hadn't planned one for your show. I had just felt like writing, so it came out.
There you go.
But it's called My Guru. I want that balance that makes you so bright and so humble, and use it to knock all of it out of you, my guru, and onto me, a light revelation I can start my life anew. Imbued within me, my guru, is the stillness of a mind quelling everything about which I've ever needlessly feared. For that you are revered. If only this weren't virtual, you'd be here.
Mm.
And then, lost without you, one among many gurus, I have no other fortune but yours. We're inextricably connected, so no need to tempt fate, as I want my destiny sealed by your words. Into your orbit I gravitate. If only it's your charisma that makes me seek enlightenment. Despite all the ways superficial, I think I betray myself by these rituals. Our journey to Paris on a honeymoon could be so beautiful. I don't follow you, you fell into my life. We can't deny what's in plain sight. Even if in trance, I relax into the light. The passion that makes us whole, we can't control. Forces in motion, the universe has spoken. So that was out of order from what it was the first time because I lost the paging, but it still resonates the same way to me. Wow.
Relax into the light. I had to write that down. It's like when I hear those words, that class, that teacher, that's something that really still sticks with me. I mean, so when I hear certain words or things, if I have paper next to me, I make sure. I love that relax into the light. I love that. And Jeff, everybody loves that. Thank you, Kristen. Yes, very nice. So we're at 8:49. Is there any other poems you want to share? And then we'll do a collective.
No, I mean people can find the links through you to the two books.
Yes. Jeff's channel is in the description. So when you click on there and you go and click onto his about section, it takes you to I believe you have a website where you put your poetry, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
So there's all links there for everything that Jeff has. So please check him out. Oh, what's this? I'm drunk on bourbon and potato chips.
Yeah, wax poetic.
That's quite all right. That's beautiful. I love that word, wax poetic. I just love, yeah, I just love plays of words. Sometimes when you put two words together, you're kind of like, what the hell? But at the same time, just seeing them next to each other and an energy they create, even if you don't know what the meanings necessarily are, you still feel something like a cool connection to it. I love that. Indigo, yes. Holy smokes, please read the first one. Your last one, both. They are what touched me. Oh, the brief one, Into the Light. That was here, let me show you the card that I'm referring to. If I can find what I did. So let me just go ahead and oh, that is not wrong one. I have two purple. And I was like, wrong one. So let me see if I still have that card on the top. I mean, I love her cards. People see me use it. Um, the author was on my channel, so let me find the liquid light. And there we go, selenite. Liquid light. Oh, wait a minute. What did I call it? I think I got the wrong word. Oh, no, it wasn't selenite. There was a card that was called Anchor of Light. And now I don't know which one it is. Oh, how interesting. Oh, anyway, I don't want to keep everybody too long. So for the one that I wrote tonight was Anchor of Light. I think it was the Labradorite. And she calls it Anchor of Light. And I just wrote, you connect me, Anchor of Light, you connect me to my night, illuminating what I cannot see in spirit form that surrounds me. You are my third sight. And that just boom, boom, boom. Sometimes they come out like that. And something really quick, too, I wanted to share that came across. I was flipping through my Tory book, and it's something that I didn't see before. And I thought this was very interesting. And Dina, because you said you did composing, you might find this interesting as well. Tori wrote, if you are a composer in your soul, you chase frequency, sound, melody, rhythm, chords, the word. And if you're lucky, once in a while, they chase you. This is musical Shem Ana, the ancient word for the ultimate food, for the light body or Ka. Even before we read in the Old Testament in the Bible about this magical food they call manna coming seemingly down from heaven, the ancient Sumerians, more than 1,000 years prior to the biblical reference, were partaking in their own version of what is Shem Ana. So here we have this musical Shem Ana, traveling from God knows how far, unlocking portals to bring divine essence. I mean, and she
That's
continues on. Tori's incredible. I mean,
that's her method right there to everything.
yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And she would love. She used to talk in her earlier youth how she would create a fairy ring where she would sit, get want need want be inspired, leave gifts, and wait to see what the fae would bring to her. So yeah, very beautiful. And yeah, that's right. Book Bewitch wanted me to reread that other one, and I'll do that really quick. It's called Vina Cava. And instead of venom, inject rose oil into silent veins, infusing essence into substance. Valerian based nail polish, chamomile lip balm, eyelids painted with black wing. Flower offerings nestled together, their supple skins following your journey. Torn petals leaving trails within your vena cava. So that was the one I wanted to bring tonight. So I would love to do this like on a regular basis with you, Jeff, if you're
I
interested.
would love to. I would love to.
Coming on, maybe once every couple of weeks or, once a month, bring a
Mhm.
collection, of our pieces and,
Oh yeah.
and sharing.
Oh, definitely. I'd love to. And the more that you share, the greater the impetus to keep going, because
Mm-hmm.
you find that once you give voice to something and it goes out there, it's done, and there's a certain release from that. So you want to keep going and keep writing. So
Yeah.
yes,
I
definitely.
mean, I have stuff that and I've gone over through my work over the years and thrown some stuff out, looking at going, oh God, It was so funny back in the day when Madonna was first becoming popular, and she would look at photos and stuff of herself, and she would write the word "groi," GROI, on certain photos and stuff, and people asked her, "What does groi mean?" And she goes, "Get rid of it." So sometimes I've gone over the years. If I write something, I'll look back and go, "Oh, I'll write Croy," and I'll know, get rid of it. Yeah. So let's see. Book Bewitched respectfully submitted the Notepad app. Makes it so you can keep the stray thoughts, bits of words, pieces, pics in one place. Oh, I do that all the time on my phone. I always have some sort of notebook. I'm a journal junkie, so I have so many books and journals and things. Some of them half filled, some of them just barely filled, some of them fully filled. So I always have paper or something on me because I never know when a word or a phrase or something might come up, or even a thought for or an idea for the channel, will come up. So, um, anywho, is there anything else you wanted to share before we did a collective for everybody? Anything about yourself that you would like to?
No, let's do the collective, and then I might, from the collective, just spout off something.
There we go. Okay,
That's
sounds
what
good
I'm
to me.
thinking of doing, as I'm
And that's
doing
the
on my
part.
channel.
I
Yeah.
love it. This is what I like. I was telling you yesterday back. I don't want to be too rigid and say, well, this is the time that we have to do this. Pull only one card, then we have only a few. I want it to be like something that's like a foundation. But I love when shows they flow organically, and that is a great idea. So let's do that. And I just want to share this that Kristen, seeing that she's willing to share. Her mom is going to be passing soon, so the poetry could be
Sorry, Kristen.
a very good way to express your grief.
I lost my dad last July. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and I'm sorry too that you lost your dad. So art's going out into the woods. Even if you got to do your videos and you want to share your tears and cry. I mean, when we had the shooting in Buffalo last year, I was in tears and I came on and I did, a video just expressing everything that the emotions that we were going through here with what that kid did. So we all process and move through the stages of grief differently. We really do. And there's no one way.
It's not linear either, by the way.
Because Kubler-Ross did like there are these stages, and some people are like, well, when you can only go through them one at a time, and when you're done, you're done. No, you can sometimes jump back up and down. I mean, we're all different. We really are. And Kristen said, I'm so sorry for your loss, Jeff. We are of that age, aren't we? I mean, I lost my dad early. I lost my dad in the middle of my last semester in college.
That's awful. I can't even imagine that. That's horrific. But yeah, we are at that age. I mean, on average, but it doesn't alleviate or assuage the pain. So,
but it does get better. It gets easier.
Yeah.
And bottom card. Okay.
Are we just doing like a collective reading, or are we just pulling a card for the collective? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I felt pulled to. I usually do 3, and then sometimes I'm told to pull from the bottom. So that's what I did. So you're my guest. Let me put you up there first to share what you have.
Okay. All right, I have the Knight of Coins. So if we are in a position right now where we've been looking for something that we don't have, but we need the facility, or like which comes first, the chicken or the egg, we really need to think, since this is more than just like an ace of coins, about what we're bringing to the table as far as making sure we're not holding too much back, because I got the 4 of coins reversed with it. Meaning that security, that need to take care of ourselves is very much a factor right now with all the shifting energies in the world, whether it's a resource like money or whether it's a resource in our hearts. But we need to look at things from a new perspective, because fortunately, things are going to change. We just I'm hearing calculated risk with these for this week or currently. So be sure that you're taking a risk that you're comfortable with, but make sure that it's for something you really, really, really long-term want. Because with the first card, I hear a lot of, foundation and framework being set.
Nice. Okay. So I pulled, and we had Brenda Tarot joined us. So hello, Brenda. Thank you.
Hi, Brenda.
So this for the collective, and I think going into in this weekend and coming into the week, I got expression, and our expression helps us, like our poetry, how we express ourselves. It causes beautiful transformation, and I love how the butterflies are all coming from her third eye up. From her head, it's radiating. So we're opening up our wings. We are expressing ourselves. We are expanding. We are transforming. And also coming from the head area, it's not only just, connecting to our tuition, our higher selves or spirit, or the messages we receive, but it's also an expression of um like what's the word I just had? We are expanding our knowledge, wanting to reconnect. It's like sending out the feelers, connecting. The butterflies, are all about going into the cocoon, and when they do, people don't realize they completely disintegrate. They turn into a liquid from which they reborn themselves. They rebirth themselves into the butterfly with the wings. So it's also taking the thoughts that we tell ourselves and redirecting our thoughts about how we feel about ourselves, our others, our life, and being able to express that. And by doing that, we also are reminded that we have protection. And there's again, we have two swans. Swans are all about transformation. And she has the wings, and there's that beautiful moon again. So tapping into the divine feminine, connecting with our higher selves, our intuition, and allowing that beautiful transformative light to come through us. And if you look in her hand, some for me it looks like a sword. It could be just some light, healing light coming out of her hands, but it's all about knowing that you are grounded and you are protected. And being able to do that, you're able to walk in balance, looking walking through nature, walking through life, walking through situations where you may feel like, and this could be very like much like going into like a Walmart or into a big box store or something, where you have all those different energies coming at you, some nice, not so nice, and you're trying to walk that balance. Just know that you're protected, you are walking in balance, you have your guides around you. And I have to probably maybe cover this up so that YouTube doesn't get upset. But when we learn to walk in that balance and are and feel comfortable in expressing who we are and knowing that we are divinely guided, that creates new beginnings for us. We rebirth ourselves. We're like that young child again. We're rebirthing. We're coming into the world anew. We're experiencing. We're not afraid. This here is like she's rising up. But it's kind of like that free fall where you're not going to get hurt. You can fly, you can drop, but you're still in that beautiful free fall of everything of what could be. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that makes sense with the hangman card I got at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
different perspective. And did you write a poem for your cards?
Well, this is what's coming to mind. Um, Now's not the time to run and hide. Too long I've been looking at the time. Only this time I'm not really certain of what's going to be coming. If I can find the freedom to let go of the things that weren't there, that didn't show, I just wish that you were here only to bring me the light that was here before it was your time to go. I don't know where that came from, but that's what I'm throwing out there.
Well, I think we're channeling this energy, and with Kristen sharing us about her mom, she's opening us up to our lives and our sharing. And I think that's these poems are, especially that one there, is bringing in um that healing energy. It's like honoring our ancestors, acknowledging you know who they were in our lives, and they know that we still think of them, we still love them. And I think Book Bewitched said that she lost her mom too when she was 15. And dad, oh my goodness, Book Bewitched just lost her dad last Saturday. Oh, sweetheart, I am so sorry. Well, as like I always tell people, my guests, my chat is a safe space for people. So you are loved here. We send you loving energy and healing to you, and we all hold you in our hearts as you go through this time. And same with you, Kristen. We hold you in our hearts as well. And I love what Kristen said about the balance card. I can't help but see that balance card and know the pain inside those shoes of the dancer. Point shoes make the ballerina bleed. And yes,
Wow.
Shan's mom was a dancer at one point. And her feet, you know, yeah, she loved to dance, she loved to ice skate, but there was pain and deformity, but it was something that she always loved. It was a part of her, of who she was, her soul. So, but that's beautiful, Kristen. I wish I had seen that before I wrote mine. Mine's just very short, and I was taking the titles of the cards, and I wrote, "The expression of our divine protection. We walk in beauty and in balance, from sunset to sunrise. We welcome new beginnings." So that was, I was able
That
to.
was beautiful. Yeah.
So, so Jeff, thank you
You're welcome.
for joining me this
You're
evening.
very welcome.
Everybody, thank you for joining Jeff and I. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Everybody sharing, their pain, their love for, writing, sharing, our stories, our histories together. And before I go, Jeff, do you have anything that you want to share that's coming up on your channel?
I am going to be doing a live very shortly. I haven't set the date yet, but it will involve, of course, mini readings, personal readings, and um, poems that will arise either from the cards, or the poem will just come to me if you just want that from me. Um, and if you want a reading, I'll do it that way, however you want it. But I'm just trying to get the logistics of um, how I'm going to do it figured out, because I really think it's the type of thing that not only does it need to be, um, well, anything on here is interactive, but um, the setting and the um, free flow, I want to be there for more involvement, and to get the energy off people. I don't want people to feel as if they come into it and they have to share too much about themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make sure I'm comfortable with the forum in which it's set, but it's something that I think is lacking on YouTube. I don't see a lot of it. But I think those channeled messages that we've seen people like Scott Spiritual Essence do, whether he's talking to the aliens, or they've inspired me just through my own mind. Just now you saw that. And I want to keep doing that with the tarot. That's all. And I hope you join me if you haven't subscribed in that journey. So I thank you for the platform, Heather. I
Oh,
greatly
you're welcome.
appreciate it.
You're welcome anytime, and I would love to do this. Start maybe plan something like this once a month with
Def-
you, and maybe we can bring Annie Bear to join us, Kristen,
yes.
have special guests, who would like to share, once a month.
And I also want to say too, I know there are a lot of channels on YouTube. I can spend a lot of time on Sunday watching 6 different people sequentially, but really
Yeah.
daily, you
It's
really
hard.
should, if you don't already, use Terry Renner's channel, because I've found that her meditations actually really do work. And I know it's for
Mhm.
entertainment purposes only, but my day goes a lot more smoothly when I just devote that 20 minutes in the morning to that ritual. I don't know why I had to say that, but I wanted to say it because it's true.
Yes, I'm usually not up at that time because of medication I take at night, but every so often, if I am, I'm right there. Just wanting to say hi really quick. Aurora Starcy, that's Caitlin. She just joined us. And Book Bewitched said what channel? So Jeff's
Holding
channel
your
is the,
space. Yeah, I think it's
yes.
holding your
Oh,
space.
Terry Renner, yes.
Yeah.
And Jilly R. But really quick, but big, yeah, really quick. Book Bewitched said, Jeff, I hope you capture that poem that you just wrote with the cards for the collective. She would like to make sure that you do that. Kristen Louise just subscribed, and
Thank you,
we just
Kristen.
had Jilly R. Popped in. Hello, Jilly. Thank you for joining us. We are actually wrapping up, but you can watch playback. Jeff and I are, we do tarot readings and oracle readings, but we're also writers. We do poetry. And this was our first show together, sharing our history, our process, our inspirations, and we both shared a couple poems. So most definitely, I hope you watch the playback and you enjoy it. And hi, Maruta. You can. I didn't know if you've been lurking or if you just popped in, but it's good to see you.
I'm
You,
Aruda.
yep,
I
and you can
haven't
listen
seen
to her
you in a while.
meditations. Yep, at any time. So she keeps them up. So most definitely. So, everybody, again, thank you for joining us. I will be having Scott
I can't wait for that.
Scorpio Sun. I can never remember if it's Sun Scorpio or Scorpio Sun that
I
comes
can't
through.
either.
But Scott is coming to my channel tomorrow evening also for the first time. So, hopefully, he will be able to share that image that he did, the video with his mother, that light being that came into. Oh, it was just amazing. So hopefully he can share that with us. But yes, I'm looking forward to having Jeff on my channel tomorrow evening. And everybody, wherever where you are, have a great night. Thank you for coming. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye bye, everybody.